All right, everyone, welcome into the Okali Bracket Challenge brought to you by Firo's Fire Kiss Pizza. I'm Chris Notch. With me today, OSU President Burns Hargis. President Hargis, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Good to be with you, Chris.
All right, so of course, main event. Now, real quick, before we get into this bracket, I want to ask you, when you pick a bracket, when you go through it, are you just picking based off the seeds? Like, so the one seed's always going to kind of keep beating the lower seeds, or you kind of look, okay, I'm going to throw in some upsets along the way?
Yeah, honestly, the only basketball I really follow is the Big 12, so I'm not very knowledgeable about the others. But there's always, for example, I think Texas Tech is the real threat for their. They were seated way down there, and their losses to Kansas and Baylor and to us, ours was in overtime. So I think they're a sleeper that you got to watch out for. Okay. And there's some others on here that I think that are that way. But no, normally, if it's the 1 versus 16, I'm going to take the 1.
For sure.
I know once in a blue moon, the 16 wins, but
yeah. Took one in 140 tries, and it finally someone finally did it.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, we'll get started into this. We'll start here in the West. Gonzaga versus the winner of the Norfolk State Appalachian State. Who do you have in that one? I
got Gonzaga.
Okay. Of course.
I don't think that's a surprise.
Right, and the only undefeated team currently that's in the tournament, trying to be the first since 1976 to win it all and go undefeated, joining the last team to do it, Bob Knight's Indiana Hoosiers in 1976. And oddly enough, this is also the first tournament since then where Duke nor Kentucky are actually in it. So,
North Carolina's barely in it.
Yeah, and they barely got in as well. So, moving on here,
the Blue Bloods,
right? Yeah, those Blue Bloods struggled this year. Moving on, 8-9, Oklahoma, Missouri. Who do you got?
I'll go with OU. I think they're going to come back. I think Barry Manick's going to start hitting again, and Austin Reeves is a great player. So I just kind of think they'll. But Creighton's really good. They'll really have to play well to beat them.
Yeah. Coming up next here, we have number 5 Creighton versus University of California, Santa Barbara, 12 seed. Who do you have here?
I got Creighton.
Creighton. Okay. Moving on, Virginia and Ohio.
I've got Virginia.
Virginia, okay. Going.
They were last year's champs, weren't they?
Yeah, 2 years ago, actually. So, yeah, they are the, defending champions, as they have kind of called them, so to speak. So, next up, USC, and then the winner of Wichita State and Drake.
Yeah, I've got USC.
Okay. Kansas and East Washington.
Kansas.
Of course, another good Big 12 team. 7 seed Oregon versus number 10 VCU and the Rams.
Oregon.
Okay. Iowa versus Grand Canyon, 15 seed.
Iowa, for sure.
Of course, Luka Garza is a lot to. He's a tough player to reckon with, that's for sure. So he'll help them out there. So we'll now go over to the South region. Baylor and Hartford. Hartford, of course, the American East Conference champs.
Baylor for sure.
Okay. 8-9 matchup here. North Carolina and Wisconsin Badgers.
Well, that's a really tough one, but I'm going to go with Wisconsin.
Okay. A little bit of an upset, but not really. 8-9 seeds are always, if you could say, all right, anyone's got a chance.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. But Wisconsin played pretty well there for a while in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Coming up here next, Villanova, the 5 seed against number 12 Winthrop.
Yeah, I don't even know what Winthrop is. I'm going with Villanova.
Villanova. All right. Purdue, the Boilermakers, number 4, taking on number 13 North Texas, the Mean Green.
Yeah, I'll go with Purdue.
Purdue, okay. Texas Tech, 6 seed against number 11 Utah State.
Got Texas Tech.
Tech, and as you mentioned, they're kind of that sleeper as well. Here, number 3 seed Arkansas against number 14 Colgate.
You can go with Arkansas.
Okay. Number 7 Florida against number 10 Virginia Tech, the Hokies.
Well, that's definitely Florida.
Florida, okay. And then, of course, number 2 here, Ohio State, and number 15 just down the road in Tulsa, Oral Roberts, the Golden Eagles.
Well, I love Oral Roberts, but I got to go with Ohio State on that one. I'm just glad Oral Roberts made it. I think it's great they made it.
Yeah, good for them being a 4 seed in their division. So now we'll move down bottom right to the Midwest. Illinois taking on number 16 Drexel.
Brad Underwood's Illinois. I'll go with Illinois.
All right, 8-9 matchup here. Loyola Chicago, of course, which was the Cinderella just a few years back, made it all of the way to the Final Four. And then number 9 Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, I think.
All right. The Ramblers will not get their Cinderella story this year.
I don't think so.
Number 5 Tennessee and number 12 Oregon State, the Pac-12 champs.
Yeah, I'll go with Tennessee.
Okay, and then of course Oklahoma State taking on the Liberty Flames.
Yeah, go Pokes.
Go Pokes. All right, number 6 San Diego State taking on the Orangemen of Syracuse, number 11 seed.
I think that San Diego State, I think they're really good. I mean, I think they could really go somewhere.
Yeah,
except they got West Virginia in the way.
Yeah, Mountain West champions for sure. So coming up next year, you have West Virginia, the 3 seed against number 14 Morehead State.
Yeah, West Virginia for sure.
Number
West
7,
Virginia that we beat 2 times in a row.
right? Yeah, and
3 times overall.
yeah, we can have a span. So next up here, number 7 Clemson taking on number 10 Rutgers.
I like Clemson.
All right, and then 2-seeded Houston taking on number 15 Cleveland State.
Definitely Houston. They've really come on strong this year.
Yeah, and OSU alum Ralph Sampson, of course, has that team playing really well. So we'll go now bottom left to the east here, East region. Number 1 Michigan taking on the winner of Mount St. Mary, Texas Southern winner.
Yeah, definitely Michigan.
All right, 8-9 matchup here. LSU, the Tigers, against St. Bonaventure and the Bonnies.
LSNU.
All right. 5 seed Colorado taking on number 12 Georgetown. Patrick Ewing, Georgetown Hoyas, so of course, who went through and won the Big East.
Yeah, I like Georgetown in that.
All right, major upset right there. Next up, 4-seeded Florida State taking on UNC Greensboro.
Florida State, and it's Leonard Hamilton, so he used to coach here.
That's right. Got to keep that OSU history going.
That's right.
Next up, 6-11, 6 BYU against the winner of Michigan State UCLA.
See, there's another blue blood that barely made it.
Yeah.
UCLA. I'm going to take BYU.
Okay, take the Cougars. Next up here, number 3 Texas, the Longhorns, Big 12 champions against Abilene Christian.
Definitely UT.
Okay. 7 and 10 seed here, number 7 UConn against number 10 Maryland.
I think we'll get an upset there with Maryland.
Okay, and then last but not least, number 2 Alabama against number 15 Iona.
You got to go with Alabama, as much as I'd like to go with Iona.
Another red hot team. So, well, of course, now we'll get up to the round of 32 here. We'll start back up in the West region, top left. Gonzaga and OU. Who's moving on?
Well, I stayed with the Sooners through the first round, but I don't think they can handle it.
All right, Gonzaga it is.
I'm not sure anybody can, to be honest.
Right. Next,
nobody has been able to yet.
Yes, hopefully, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Of course, it's kind of like a clean slate, you could say, once the tournament starts.
That's right.
Kind of see where everyone goes. So next up, number 5 Creighton against number 4 Virginia.
I'll go with Creighton.
All right, Blue Jays moving on. Next up, USC and the Kansas Jayhawks.
Jayhawks.
Keeping those Big 12 teams intact so far. Next up, number 7 Oregon taking on number 2 Iowa.
I'll go with Iowa.
Hawkeyes and Luka Garza moving on. Now, top right region up in the South region here. Number 1 Baylor taking on number 9 Wisconsin, the Badgers.
Baylor.
All right.
Bears.
On. Next up, 4-5 matchup. 5 Villanova against number 4 Purdue.
I think Purdue.
Okay, Boilermakers moving on to the Sweet 16. Next up, Texas Tech against Arkansas.
I think Tech wins that.
Tech's moving on. Next up, number 7 Florida Gators and number 2 Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Okay, now let's move. We'll go bottom right here to the Midwest region. You got Illinois, number 1 seed, taking on number 9 Georgia Tech.
I think the Illini will move on. They'll win.
They'll move on. And then, of course, 4 seed Oklahoma State Cowboys taking on number 5 Tennessee and the Volunteers.
No doubt about it. Ok State.
Go Pokes. Number 6 San Diego State taking on number 3 West Virginia, Bob Huggins Mountaineers.
Yeah, San Diego State is good, but I think West Virginia will pull it together and Huggins they'll smother them.
You'll keep those teams moving. And then last matchup in this region, number 7 Clemson and number 2 Houston.
Yeah, Houston.
Houston's moving on. All right. Now here moving to the bottom left East region. We have number 1 Michigan taking on the Tigers of LSU.
Yeah, I think Michigan wins that.
Okay, here number 12 Georgetown, who upset number 5 Colorado, taking on number 4 Florida State.
I think Georgetown will win that.
Georgetown, the Cinderella moves on. Number 6 BYU taking on the Longhorns, Texas Longhorns at number 3.
I'm going with that. I'm going with Texas.
Longhorns moving on, and then number 2 Alabama taking on number 10 Maryland.
Maryland.
All right, Bama's season comes to an end in the round of 32.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I took Alabama. Excuse me.
Alabama, okay. All right, going back to the top in the West region, the Sweet 16, we have number 1 Gonzaga taking on number 5 Creighton.
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga's moving on to the Elite 8. Next up, Kansas and Iowa.
Now, this is a really tough one, I think. But I think I'll go with the Big 12 and pick Kansas.
Big 12.
That's going to be a good game.
Yeah, that should be a good game. Plus, people are always contemplating which conference is tougher. Big 12, Big 10. Right here, we're showing up. Big 12, they've still got that edge.
Well, we got 70% of our conferences in the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know if any other conference could say that.
No,
percentage-wise.
Yeah, not at all. Now we'll go to the South region, top right. We had number 1 Baylor taking on the Boilermakers of Purdue, another Big 12, Big 10 matchup.
Yeah, Baylor.
And then another Big 12, Big 10, Texas Tech and number 2 Ohio State.
Well, I know I said they were a sleeper, but I'm afraid I don't know that they can get past Ohio State.
All right, Ohio State's moving on. Down here in the Midwest region, bottom right. Illinois, number 1 Illinois taking on number 4 Oklahoma State.
Take this, Brad Underwood. We're going to win this thing.
Oklahoma State is moving on. Number 3 West Virginia and number 2 Houston.
Yeah, I like West Virginia. Are you seeing a pattern here that I tend to pick the Big 12 team?
12 is but most of them tend to show out, Bob Huggins, he's always got a good defensive team, and I think he'll always get West Virginia ready for when it matters most.
I do too.
All right. And then in the East region, bottom left, you have number 1 Michigan taking on number 12 Georgetown.
I'll go with Michigan.
All right. The Cinderella story ends for the Hoyas. Number 3 Texas taking on number 2 Alabama.
I think Texas wins that.
All right. Another Big 12 team moving on. So, all right. Here we go. We are going down to the top left region in the West region. Gonzaga and Kansas trying to go to the Final Four. Who's going?
Gonzaga, I'm afraid.
Gonzaga's moving on. And then now we'll go to the South region, top right. Big 12, Big 10 matchup again. Number 1 Baylor and number 2 Ohio State.
let's see. I'll go with Ohio. Yeah, no, Baylor. I think Baylor will win.
All right. The Bears are going to keep moving on, get to the Final Four. And then Oklahoma State, bottom right here in the Midwest region. Oklahoma State and West Virginia, a Big 12 matchup for the fourth time. Who's moving on?
Well, as with the last two, we'll win 3 in a row after this game.
All right. Pokes are moving on. And then the last one in the East region, bottom left, number 1, Michigan, and number 3, Texas, another Big 12, Big 10 matchup. Who's going to the Final Four?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I'll go with Michigan.
Michigan's moving on. All right, so our Final Four on the left side, you have number 1 Gonzaga taking on the Michigan Wolverines, Juwan Howard's Wolverines, who's also the number 1 seed. Who's going to the championship?
That's really going to be a good game. I'm going to go, but I'm going with Gonzaga.
All right, Gonzaga in the final, and then of course on the right side, the other side, number 1 Baylor against number 4 Oklahoma State.
For the second time in a row, we beat them.
All right, the Cowboys take down the Bears when it matters most. And so our national championship pick right here, Gonzaga, Oklahoma State. Who's getting crowned? Who's tearing down the nets?
Well, I think we'll be cruising, and I think Zaga is going to be a little beat up after playing Iowa. So I'm gonna go with Gonzaga, but Oklahoma State. I think we'll win and beat the Zags.
All right. What do you think, if you had to guess, what do you think that final score is going to be for the Oklahoma State Gonzaga game?
You know, they've been scoring so much higher than I thought. I mean, I never thought I'd see Oklahoma State hit 90 points that we did. Right. But I'll go with 84-80.
All right, another tight matchup. I think you're right. I think, of course, you know, with Mark Few of Gonzaga, he'll have his team, and Coach Boynton's done a phenomenal job, of course, this year with a young up-and-coming squad. And if our Cowboys can get there, it'll be an exciting time.
Yeah, I think if Kuba gets going, I like he has soft hands, and I think, we haven't had a big man with soft hands in a long time. And of course, Boone is great underneath. So I think we've got the horses. They're young, this is their first time to the big dance. But I think, the way Kate Cunningham takes over a game toward the end is just amazing. And so I fully, it'll be a great game, and they'll be a very hard team to beat. But I think Boynton's kind of on a magic carpet ride here.
Yeah, well, especially for getting us all the ways to, of course, the Big 12 championship, and the Cowboys trying to at least win at least one game in the Big Dance since 2005, which is the last time they even made it to the Final Four with Coach Sutton. So,
right,
hopefully Boynton's got that magic touch, as you mentioned, and can get us to the promised land.
It's been a long dry spell. We're due.
Yep, long time coming. So, of course, I want to thank President Burns Hargis for being on here with me. This has been the OMG Bracket Challenge brought to you by Firo's Pizza. So, again, for President Hargis, I'm Chris Notch. We'll catch you next time.